the things that I didn't tell you I would do because I didn't go through my outline was talk about trends in brain tumour incidence in Australia. Because if what we're seeing there is suggesting that something might be going on, then the first, and given that mobile phone use is very common, although it wasn't very common a long time ago, which is when the people who might be getting problems would have been exposed, then sometime or other we ought to see some shift in the brain tumour trends. And here they are, and these are done by age group. I should have turned these around. There's something silly about PowerPoint that puts them the wrong way around for you, but anyway, not to worry. So 0 to 14's down here, you can see that's flat, 15 to 34 is flat, 35 to 54 is flat, 55 to 74 is flat, brain tumours going up 75 plus up to about here and then flat. Now, this particular group, 75 plus, is the group in society who's used mobile phones least of any. It's also the group that previously used to have strokes and things diagnosed. Now they get sent off for an MRI and, aha, it's a brain tumour. I'm sure they really wanted to know it was a brain tumour and not a stroke, but that issue aside, that's almost certainly the explanation for that. So there's nothing in the rates in men that suggests that if there is an effect of mobile phone use on brain tumour incidence, it is yet being revealed in Australia. And for women, the story is identical. So nothing to be concerned about, but as I've said before, it could still be too early to see very much, given that long-term heavy users are relatively few and far between, even yet. There's nothing in brain cancer incidence trends. This, of course, is cancer, not tumours, because we don't register benign brain tumours across Australia. Nothing in brain cancer incidence trends in Australia to suggest that increasing mobile phone use has caused an increase in brain cancer incidence. So what are my bottom lines? Well, I think that there are suggestions of an increased risk of glioma on the side of use of a mobile phone, perhaps more than just suggestions, and weaker suggestions of a higher risk of glioma with long continued high mobile phone use, and again weaker suggestions of an excess risk of glioma in the temporal lobes of mobile phone users. I think that these ones, particularly the increased risk on the side of use of a mobile phone, is sufficient to say that this is a cause for concern. However, inaccurate recall of mobile phone use and other largely unavoidable biases in the relevant epidemiological studies prevent any certain conclusion regarding cancer-causing effects of mobile phone use. I'm saying that recognising that this observation here with respect to side of use was not dependent on estimates of amount of use to any substantial degree. In the meta-analysis, not at all. In the parotid gland tumour analysis, yes it was. So biased recall of amount could not have produced that result in the meta-analysis. Brain cancer trends are also reassuring. So what should we do? My view is that human exposure to mobile phone frequency electromagnetic energy should be kept as low as reasonably achievable, a LARA principle, especially in children, for no other reason than that there is some evidence from other tumours that children could be more susceptible to the effects of anything that might cause tumours than adults. That's the only reason. We don't have any other reason to think that children would be more susceptible, but it's a reasonable principle to adopt, while not unduly restricting access to the undoubted benefits of mobile telephony. And research into the possible adverse health effects of radio frequency energy should continue. Now, what should that research be? Conveniently, there was this report from the Committee on Identification of Research Needs relating to potential biological or adverse health effects of wireless communication devices of the National Research Council, published by the National Academy Press, not in 2007 but 2008, and this is what they said. Prospective cohort studies. A prospective cohort study will allow for the evaluation of diverse outcomes, but a very large sample size and extended follow-up is required for rare outcomes or those that occur only with very long latency, because brain tumours are a rare outcome. So a cohort study is going to take quite a long time. but it is going to deal with some of those biases. It will have its own problems, but some of the biases that are of concern in the case control studies will not be of concern in a cohort study like that. Occupational cohorts with medium to high exposure. None of the occupational studies to date have been based on an adequate exposure assessment. Much work is needed to identify occupations with potentially high exposures and to characterise them. Some of this will come from Interphone, but I think this recommendation was being made in the knowledge of what Interphone can produce, not what it had produced, so there's a sense that that may still be needed. And then with respect to children, prospective cohort studies of pregnancy and childhood. Children are potentially exposed from conception through maternal wireless device use and then postnatally when themselves become users of mobile phones. Having said that, I am aware that there are case control studies. Well, there's the case control study of children mobile phone use and brain cancer. One of those is in the process of being funded by the European Union, called MobiKids. It is going to suffer from a lot of the problems that I've described to you, and I can tell you from being in the middle of doing a case control study of brain tumours in children for other reasons, they are extremely hard to do because doctors don't want to involve their patients early, and by the time they try and involve them, it's too late, they've disappeared. So we're getting very low participation rates. So that is not going to be an easy study to do. But it will be the only way we could answer the question in children, because the cohort study could never be big enough to give you the statistical power needed to see prospectively whether there was an increased risk of brain tumours in children who had had significant use of mobile phones. And I think that's the end of my story. Yes, too. Thank you.